Hey there, SNDL traders and investors. It's Rod with Pow Group. Welcome back on The Pursuit of Wealth, your home for MJ stocks, crypto assets, news, and interviews. Also home to the best MJ community. Today is Thursday. It's May 9th. Hope you're doing well. And in this video, we're going to be discussing SNDL's Q1 2024 earnings. We'll do a review of the earnings and the conference call. Spoiler alert, they did miss in terms of analyst estimates, and they were forecasting a lot. They revised the numbers down a lot from the previous quarter estimates as well. And they still missed, and not a great report at all. And I mentioned in my previous earnings prep video for SNDL that it wasn't set up well if it did miss or had a bad report, because we didn't have any daily support all the way down to 175, and it had been a while since we had daily consolidation and really any pullback and support established. And the more you run into an earnings report and have a bad reaction, bad earnings, then the more you can pull back, right? So we'll take a look at the chart as well. There was an hourly bear flag that did confirm, and the target was reached and then some, and we got very close to hourly oversold. So we'll take a look at the technicals and what to expect there in terms of price action in the days, weeks, months ahead. But as always, this is not financial advice. This is for entertainment purposes only. You should never buy or sell anything based on anything that I say or write. You can also like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Tick the bell and you'll be notified on any future videos or when I go live. And full disclosure, I do own SNDL in my portfolio. You can also follow us over on X, formerly Twitter. The handle for that is @GroupPow. Going to be using that as my platform of choice going forward. So SNDL reports first quarter 2024 financial and operational results. I'm not going to go through the whole entire report, or the video would be super long. They also came out with their consolidated financial statements and their MD&A, so management discussion and analysis. So we'll go through this. Not sure what's going on though. There was some weird things going on with TradingView. A lot of people were asking me about this. It came in it showed 200, and the reason why is because it was Canadian versus USD, and it wasn't updated properly. So I would take what TradingView says with a grain of salt sometimes. Sometimes it's incorrect and they update it later. And even investing.com had it wrong. So they were forecasting 206.2 million, like way down from 263 estimated the previous quarter, and they still missed it. So they said it was attributed to seasonality. But I don't know. I would have loved to ask that question during the conference call. I was on the webcast, so I didn't have the ability to ask a question. But I can't believe nobody asked that question, to be honest. It just seems a little suspicious that it was just attributed to seasonality and low sales due to, the quarter that we were in. That's a big drop off. So I'm not sure I'm buying that. But they did mention Valens as well. But you can see here it said negative 0.06. And same thing on TradingView. This is US, so negative 0.044. And then if you go to Moomoo, revenue, so they have it correct here, 197.75 million, and then it was forecasted, looks here, 209.3, and EPS is negative 0.01. And I went on their MD&A, and I confirmed, if you scroll down here, we'll go through the highlights here in a moment in the chart after as well. But where did I see it here? It was in so common shares, 263.2 million. I think it was in the consolidated report here. Yeah, so basic and diluted, negative 0.01. So I'm not sure where they're getting negative 0.06. Like I said, you can kind of take what TradingView says with a grain of salt. Same with investing.com. I usually find investing.com's more accurate, but you want to check the reports, obviously, for the actual information, most up-to-date information. And then I think Moomoo's got it pretty much the best out of all of them. So, and I really like how Moomoo gives you the analyst based on one analyst, and sometimes there's 15 analysts, 10 analysts, but surprised there's only one there actually for that. But we'll go through. So they did miss in terms of EPS. There was no forecast, but like I said, in terms of Moomoo and the one analyst there, they actually beat in terms of those estimates. So they were forecasting negative 0.06. They came in negative 0.01. But they did miss in terms of revenue. And like I said, just a little concerning that it was still revised down to 206 and it came in at 197.8 million. Let me know what you think of that. But I'm sure everybody's already read this press release and earnings report, so I won't go through all of the details, but it's all in Canadian dollars unless otherwise stated. And they did have the conference call today. So I'll go through my notes of the conference call here, and we were talking about the report in the Pow Group private community this morning. So I'll go through my notes from that as well. But they say here record gross margin of 25%. that, it's still really low, and it's funny that they're focusing on that record gross margin. But you can see right here in the net revenue section for the operational and financial highlights. So they say here that the first quarter of 2024 was 197.8 million compared to 191 million in the first quarter of 2023, an increase of 4% year over year. This increase is driven by MJ Retail and MJ Operations segments. So it's funny that they highlight the 4% increase, and then they say the decrease in net revenue in the quarter as compared to net revenue of 248.5 million in the prior quarter of 2023. In the fourth quarter of 2023 is attributed to seasonality in the liquor and MJ Retail segments, as the fourth quarter is traditionally the strongest retail period, and the first quarter is impacted by decrease in consumer spending. So I don't know, it's just like that much of a seasonality effect. I don't know if I'm buying it, but let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments section. I'll just go through, like I said, anybody can read this. I'm not just going to read off and do what most people do and just come on here and just read the highlights. I just want to give my key thoughts and opinions on this. So I would imagine there's going to be a lot of, I wouldn't say frustrated, maybe angry, because this is a pretty poor report, not going to lie. Excuse me, we're down about 12% there at one point in the pre-market, and we did have an hourly bear flag that was confirmed, and it was targeting 230. We hit that target and then some, and with that lower wick, we would have got very close to hourly oversold. And one thing I've been telling people is that usually after a big bull move, after that DEA news, which we've pretty much given the whole thing back on a lot of our names, MSOS, ETF included, hourly oversold is generally a good idea for an entry, and even just like a short-term trade or a swing trade. But yeah, if you would have entered there off that hourly oversold and that lower wick there, it's already up over 10%, almost, just over 11%. So that was a great trade. We also had an EMA 12 and 26 bear cross. So we had all the confluence in the world that we needed. And a lot of our names were hitting hourly oversold, like VFF and a lot of their peers. So the writing was on the wall. That was more than likely what to expect. But just going through my notes here from the Power Group private community. So, yeah, the margin... Truliev's margin as well, they came out with their earnings. It was like double their margins were like double that, but that's what happens when you focus on the value segment. And also in the US, like it's like $10 per gram, right? Like $300 an ounce, right? So it's not really comparing apples to apples, and eventually they're going to have some of the same price wars. But operating loss was 4.4 million for the first quarter of 2024 compared to a loss of 32.2 million in the first quarter of 2023, and 86 improvement, primarily driven by margin expansion. So that was a nice highlight there. And in terms of cash, they had 783.2 million of unrestricted cash, marketable securities, investments, and no outstanding debt. So that is a highlight, great highlight there. And then 189 million of unrestricted cash as of March 31st, 2024. Let me just see if there's any other. Cron had 855 million USD in cash. So, if you add up all of SNDLs, it's not too far away, but in terms of unrestricted, it's 189 million. But Cron's unrestricted 855 million, and that's USD. So that's impressive in terms of cash position. See what happens there. I might do a video on those as well. But yeah, in terms of, I'll just bring up the Power Group private community here. So I did mention this as well. So they did see a big increase in, so 116 million for this quarter for liquor, and then 115.9 million. So they saw a slight increase in alcohol, but their liquor retail, but their MJ was up quite a bit. So it went from 71 retail and then 22 million for operations. And then for this period last year, it was 67 and then 19 respectively. So I'll just go through a little bit quicker here. So they talk about SNDL's international export contract with IMMJ. In Israel, the company is pursuing EU GMP certification at its Atholville facility to expand its international export footprint and increase in B2B business-to-business opportunities within the emerging global market, such as UK and Germany. And they mentioned that in the conference call as well, that they were basically reviewing their EU GMP certification for Atholville and renewing that. So that process is ongoing. And they said they were optimistic about reforms in Germany and Florida But yeah, like I said, there's a bunch of, it's a pretty lengthy report, so I'm not going to go through everything in detail, or the video would be an hour long, but they go through each segment. And then there's also a investor deck that we'll go through here real quickly as well. So most of that will be covered in there. They go through MJ operations, so very differentiated, right? And then they talk about their Sunstream, SkyMint, and Parallel vehicle as well. So as I've already done a video on this, and their exchangeable shares similar to Canopy Growth, but you can see that we're very different. Like SNDL is very differentiated from a lot of the other companies in the space, right? They're into liquor retail, MJ retail, and they have operations in MJ, right? So they're vertically integrated as well. So very different compared to a lot of other names. See how they talk about their equity position. And so they had the company that announced that board of directors had approved the renewal of the share repurchase program upon its expiry on November 20th, 2023. And it continues to be available to lower the outstanding share float. SNDL will continue to assess opportunities to utilize the program to extend, and management believes the best interest of shareholders. And if we just take a look at the shares, 263.2 million in their float, market cap 624.52 million, and 261.61 million float. All right, I think that's pretty much it in terms of highlights. Went over their cash position, net revenue. Let's just see if there's anything else that's popping out at me, but you can check out that. Like I said, most people probably already read that, but in terms of the MD&A, you can go through that as well. That'll be available on CDAR, company profile. There's also news that SNDL and Nova MJ complete the assignment of Dutch Love stores to Nova MJ, and they mentioned that in the conference call, which I'll touch on in just a second. And then also, Nova MJ had reported first quarter 2024 earnings, so they had a loss per share of 0.01 versus 0.01 loss in first quarter of 2023. And you can see here Nova MJ, so they came in at, the forecast at 68.5 million, came in at 64.3 million, and then EPS was forecasted positive 0.04, came in at negative 0.01. So they did miss in terms of both of those as well. And stocks were down as a result. Just want to check Nova at the moment here. And we're sitting about flat at the moment. So there was the updated presentation as well. So if you haven't seen that, you can go through the corporate presentation for the first quarter 2024. And I'll just go through my final notes here. And then, yeah, they talk about the regulatory reforms, Germany and Florida, the recent decision by the U.S. federal government to reclassify MJ on April 30th. The Justice Department and DEA announced that it would move to reclassify MJ from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3, subject to formal rulemaking process, which is ongoing. And Ann Milgram, I did a video on that as well. She's neglected to comment. She said it's a conflict of interest. It's ongoing, so she didn't want to comment. But this decision will not legalize at the federal level, obviously, in the U.S. It's expected to facilitate various research and permit certain tax deductions, so 280E. The decision does not directly affect SNDL's operations, which are located solely in Canada, though it is expected to have a favorable effect on the Sunstream joint venture investments in the U.S. SNDL is closely following developments in the decision and how it may create opportunities for the company. And then also something to note as well is that Germany is looking to fast track the second pillar, so phase 2 of legalization, which is only going to encourage other markets in the EU to follow suit. And then even in the U.S., right, we're going to see the U.S. more than likely, it's going to motivate them to reschedule or even deschedule right at that point and join the likes of Germany and Canada. And, we have that North American free trade, so the NAFTA, North American Free Trade Agreement as well. And, Mexico. And we'll see. I think the writing's on the wall, and I think they're going to want to get something done a lot quicker than initially planned, right? They never want to be first. The U.S. never wants to be first, but they never want to be last either. So we'll go through a little bit quicker here. So net revenue, 116.1 million. Liquor retail, MJ retail, 71.3 million. We had for the first quarter 2024 net revenue of MJ operations 22.4, and then invest income was 4 million. Let's go through strong balance sheet, vertically integrated retail scale and experienced strategic MJ investments. 2,600 employees, definitely no small company, and 966 million trailing 12-month revenue, 916 million, 647 million market cap, 359 retail stores, liquor and MJ. No debt, $189 million unrestricted cash. And then they go through gross profit, net revenue, gross margin, 25%. So obviously they're focusing on the value segment, so it's a little bit lower there. You usually want to see somewhere around like 30, 40 as a minimum, and then anything over 40, somewhere around 50 is just fantastic. And anything above that is really, really good. Voted number one best in store experience. So they go through their highlights for liquor, gross margin 25%, 171 retail locations in Alberta and British Columbia. They got their Wine and Beyond, Liquor Depot, Ace Liquor. So this is the MJ retail expansion into BC, continued store growth, private label innovation. So they've got 26% gross margin for MJ retail. 188 retail locations in AB, BC. Yeah, so there's more MJ locations and stores than there is like McDonald's in Canada, which is crazy to think about. All right, moving through. So Value Bud, Spirit Leaf, Super Ad, Fire Sale, MJ Operations. So they had 14% gross margin. 5 manufacturing cultivation facilities nationwide. And then 110,000 square feet. They said they're only at about 25% of capacity in Atholville as well. And like I said, they're looking to renew their EU GMP certification there, so that's ongoing. They talk about beverages, cultivation, edibles. So some of their premium, your Top Leaf, everybody's familiar with that. Palmetto as well is really gaining track. Their value segments, Value Buds, obviously everybody knows that one. And then this is the potential sunscreen USA compared to US MSOs. So potentially put them right there next to Green Thumb and Verano. And then obviously if we get rescheduling, 280E goes away. That's going to be great for their US-based assets. And then there's some comparable valuation analysis to some other competitors and peers in the space. All right. So I highly encourage you to check out that for more details on that. But we'll take a look at the chart here. So like I said, it was an hourly bear flag that confirmed. You just take your move from the high to the low, move it out to your 0.32 fib there, and it said we were targeting about 230, and we actually far exceeded that. We hit 216. So we would have been hourly oversold. And like I said, that's usually generally a great entry after a big bull move, right? We went up, from the low here of April 30th to the high. We were up about 32%. And some names, Canopy was up like 80%, right? Over 80%. So after a big bull move, hourly oversold usually a great entry. And then we had that EMA 12 and 26 bear cross that was showing that we were more than likely going to see some weakness. And then on the daily time frame, I mentioned that we hadn't really consolidated on the daily time frame in about 15 days, trading days, so 21 days total. And then that's what I said. This was the risk leading into earnings, is that we hadn't really consolidated or developed any support all the way down from 175. So when we started daily consolidation, we're down almost 11%. So that's not, surprising at all. And then from the recent high there or even if we go back here to April 4th, it was basically a double top with that there. So, and then on April 30th, we didn't even break to a higher high, but essentially from the local top there, we're down about a little over 18%, almost 19%. And that's what happens when you have no daily support. It would have been different if leading into the earnings report, if we went, developed some higher lows along the way, and then that would have cushioned the blow a little bit. But like I said, because we hadn't consolidated, if we didn't beat or if we had a bad report and missed estimates, then we could easily see a 10-20% pullback, and that's exactly what we're seeing here. But like I said, no major red flags whatsoever. It did confirm a monthly uptrend as well. So one of the leaders in Canada, there's only a few in Canada. Nova MJ also confirmed a monthly uptrend. BFF, Cron, but yeah, low, high, higher low, and higher high. And then you can see VFF was the same thing: low, high, higher low, and higher high. And then Cron, low, high, higher low, and higher high. So a lot of names starting to follow the U.S. producers. Those were MSOS ETF confirmed a monthly uptrend, first time in history. So we're just following them. But as of right now, this is a nice bounce here on MJ on the hourly time frame, including SNDL. Like I said, that was a great opportunity there for a quick trade, up almost 11% there off of the low. And then if we take a look at the weekly time frame, you can see here we're still well above the 10-week moving average. It's sitting there at 193. We just had a bull cross of the stochastic, and the MACD is super bullish as well. In terms of weekly moving averages, we have the 100 weekly there at 196. We got a lot of support right there in that 213 to $2 area. On the daily time frame, I mentioned this to Power Group private members this morning that we had daily EMA 26 at 213. It's now at 214. So I said 213, $2, and then after that 175 is support. And then key resistance obviously sitting at 267, and then we hit 263, so pretty much a double top there. Almost looks like a cup and handle, but pulled back a little bit more than we would like to see of that move. But still no major red flags whatsoever. In terms of the weekly time frame, we're just looking for a weekly uptrend to confirm as well. We're in a monthly uptrend, so if we break 267 from here, then we would be in a weekly uptrend, and then it'd be about the daily time frame. Daily time frame, you could make the case that we're in a daily uptrend as well. We had a slight higher low there by like 3 pennies. Not generally enough for me, but you could argue that we were in a daily uptrend after that. And then if we can confirm the weekly uptrend, we'd be in daily, weekly, and monthly uptrends. So that would be great to see. But wouldn't be surprised if we did come back test that $2 mark. But I mentioned to Power Group private members, if you're looking for entries, this morning hourly oversold was a solid entry to start scaling in, and then $2, and then $1.75 after that for key supports. But we also have the 50-day moving average. We just had a golden cross again, as well with the 50 below the 200-day and crossing, and we have the 50 there at 187. So a lot of support, and then we have the 100 and the 200 there at 166 and 164 respectively. So a lot of support there in that area, around that 175 area. But like I said, it was a great entry off hourly oversold, and here we are recovering only down 3.25% on the day today. So let me know what you think of this report. Going to end it there. A little bit of a longer video today. Oh, I forgot to go through the notes of the conference call. Yeah, so I touched on a little bit of them during the video here so far. But they mentioned, real quick here, they mentioned that they're working on 30 new SKUs. They said they're looking to get positive free cash flow in 2024. Like I mentioned, Atholville, New Brunswick facility, they're looking at renewing their EU GMP certification, operating less of 25% of the capacity there. They're reviewing their options there, and market. Obviously, with the EU and Germany, that should help with the extra capacity. Also, they said they're looking to improve presence in Quebec, and that right now they're focusing on BC and also Ontario, Canada's largest province. We have Schedule 3. They said nothing has changed with Sunstream and SkyMint parallel. They're waiting on licensing transfers. NASDAQ completed the review, and everything was all good, but they won't be touching the plant under their current structure. It's federally illegal, so in the U.S. still, so capital restructure will not be in their financials going forward, so they'll be deconsolidating that, similar to the U.S., to the Canopy U.S. Their goal is to be a top 5 licensed producer in Canada, and they had some revenue loss after acquiring Valens, they said. And the reason why they said is because they're not looking to just any kind of growth. They said they're looking at revenue streams that are attractive, not unattractive. So they're working on profitable growth, not just any type of growth, which we know a lot of the Canadian companies are doing. So getting rid of those SKUs and products and segments and categories that just aren't worth it. And then they said they still have a 62% stake in Nova MJ, but they're looking to increase that beyond 62% and be a strong sponsor of that partnership. But let me know what you think of this earnings report. Like I said, there's probably going to be a lot of ticked off people today, but we'll see what happens and the type of comments we get on this video. But hope you have a great day. It's Rob with Power Group. Thanks again for joining us in the Pursuit of Wealth, and we'll see you again on the next video.